Hello, and welcome to the BKS podcast, episode 11, with your host, Peter Land, who should be seated right here. Hello. So, I'm recording this the day after I recorded episode 10. This is kind of like episode 10 continued. Episode 10 and a half, shall we say, but it is actually episode 11, if you get what I mean. Anyway, we'll not get into that too much, shall we not? So, like I say, I recorded episode 10 yesterday. Yesterday I was going on about how I went to an online funeral of my friend Dan, who died of cancer on the 30th of March 2020. And there was some thoughts that were running around my head before I recorded that I forgot to include. So, I thought I'd do another one. I don't know when I'll put this out. I might even put it out straight away. I don't know. But I thought, there's a thing that I do with the guys that I work with, mainly the online guys who I work with, and we have like the weekly battle plan, which you might have seen. I'll put a link to a video series below this where you can put your name and email address in. You'll get that video series, and it's how I like to work with people to keep them on track, basically. But one of the things I do, so every week I've got 3 or 4 WhatsApp groups with people in, some on the Ultimate Strong Dads program, some on BKS Inner Circle, and some on the 28-Day Challenge, which are all online programs that I do. And what I like to do is ask people what the biggest win of the week was. So within those programs, I try to get guys to write down 3 wins a day. Okay, 3 wins a day equals 21 wins a week. And then every Sunday it'll be like, right, what was your biggest win of this week? Let's start next week with your biggest win. Okay? So this comes out of what I was talking about yesterday. I said on the last podcast on episode 10, whereas this is episode 10 and a half, actually episode 11. But what I like to get these guys to do, like I say, is record the wins. And this comes from what my friend Dan said in his final words, okay, which was all about family, relationships, everything. That's all that matters. Forget about all the material stuff, right? So sometimes I will when I ask what was your biggest win, I always put my biggest win as well as an example, because I do this, okay? I write down wins every day, and I make sure, I'm keeping the momentum going for my training, for my business, for my relationships, everything. Okay, so what's your biggest win of the week? And I always put mine in there to show that there is always one, right? Because sometimes guys will come back and go, do you know what? I'm struggling to find any wins this week. And I'm like, okay, I don't believe you. I don't believe that. That is not true. That is never true. You've never had a week where there are no positives that come out of it. And I don't care what you say, that's just the way it goes. There's always a positive to be found somewhere. So when people come back to me and they say, do you know what? I can't find any examples of wins for this week. It's like, okay, and then now, immediately, this is what made me think of this, I'd immediately think back to Dan's final words, and basically, he woke up in the morning. He was there to tell his 3-year-old daughter that he loved her before she went to bed. He got to spend some time with his wife. He got to do some of the things that he wanted to do, since he got diagnosed with cancer, that he'd always wanted to do in his life anyway. But the fact that he got diagnosed with cancer brought them forwards and made him want to do them right now. So those sorts of things, I didn't do, people will be like, I struggled to get a session in, I struggled to do any mobility, I didn't eat very well. It's like, okay, that's maybe you think that's a negative, but what's the positive that comes out of it? Did you ruin your entire training plan? Did you ruin your life with it? No, you didn't. There's a positive. It's a one-off. Or like especially now with this lockdown, I've been feeling very negative today, while like even before I've recorded this, I've been feeling very negative. However, I've just come off a call with one of my guys who's also struggling a little bit. But we've had a bit of a chat about it. 2 easy things for him to do, because he's got a bit of soreness in one of his feet. do some mobility and track what you're eating. Simple as that. That's all he needs to do. Excuse me, I need to close the door a second. The dishwasher's gurgling away in the background. You don't want that, do you? So anyway, so so that's helped this guy out, and I've said, right, tell me in the WhatsApp group when you've done your mobility this evening, because he's going to do that. Right, done, easy. One of his reasons was his 3 kids are back home from uni and wherever because of the lockdown. He usually does his mobility in the living room, but they want to watch telly in the evening. It's like, right, it's sunny out there, go and do it in the garden. And he was like, oh yeah, I could do that, couldn't I? Problem solved, right? So, I've been feeling very negative today, and I don't know why. I've been tired the last few days, but it's just one of those things. But I've just got off a call with a company called Adventurous You, who are up in North Wales, and they got in touch with me last week. I did a trek with them. I did the Welsh 15 peaks, the 3000s, Welsh 3000s last year, and it was awesome. I spoke about that in a podcast last August, I think, and it was awesome. Brilliant event. Absolutely loved it, and it was very well run, great company. And they got in touch with me last week and said they've been following me on Instagram and Facebook and listening to the podcast and all that. And they were like, do you want to get together and put together a training program? Because their training programs at the moment are based around, cycling, canoeing, running, rowing, this sort of thing, the type of things that they do, trekking, all that sort of stuff. And it was like, do you want to put together a training program, possibly using kettlebells, because these are outdoors people who don't necessarily like going to the gym, but maybe don't have much time? And I'm like, yes, let's do that. So we're working on that right now. Now, that is a big win. That's going to be my biggest win for today. Okay? And I've been having a very negative day. But that's a big win. I'm about to take, as soon as I put the lid down on my laptop on this, I can't put it down or anything, I've got the microphone later, but as soon as I put the lid down on my laptop on this podcast, I'm taking the dog for a walk. That's going to be another win, because it gets me out, which we're not really allowed to do at the moment. We're allowed to go out once, so my once a day I go out with the dog Sid. So it was just to kind of put this into context of asking people, because it became apparent to me what some people's mindset behind trying to stay on track with stuff. And it's really hard, especially if you look back on the last 7 days and you can't think of one positive thing. That's when it becomes a real struggle. If you can't think of one positive thing out of the last 7 days, and I don't believe you if you can't, and if you look deep down, you probably won't be able to believe yourself, okay? Now, this goes back to somebody who I spoke to ages ago, another one of my online guys, and she said, we were talking about something, and I can't remember what it was, this was about 7 or 8 months ago, and she said, something had happened, and she goes, that's another thing to add to my list of failures this week. And I was like, what are you doing a list of failures for? Why are you doing a list of failures? I asked you to do a list of wins. If you're doing a list of failures, you're just focusing on the negative. So the way I get my guys to do it, there's a sheet that they fill in every day. 3 wins. What was your win? You write down the win. So mine today, I spoke to I'll use mine as an example. I spoke to Adventurous You, and it was brilliant. Why was it a win? Well, because it'll help them out with giving their guys a training program. It'll help me out by getting me more guys to train online, all that sort of stuff. It'll help create a community of people, so when they do go on these events, so that people don't meet up first, so they'll be in a WhatsApp group with me, they'll get to chat to each other, they'll all kind of get to know each other first, and then when they do meet up on the event, wherever it is, because these guys run events all over the world, when they meet up on that, they'll all have already know a little bit about each other, and the camaraderie will be brilliant. Okay, so there's why it's a win. What's the next step? I need to record some videos, some introduction videos about me, so that can go on their website. They need to put it on the website. I need to incorporate some of their stuff into mine, and we need to put it all together. We need to get it out onto social media and tell people about it and that this is happening, which is kind of what I'm doing now as well. So that's the next step. What's the specific next step? So we've gone through what was the win, right? Brilliant. A lot of people will tell you, just write your wins down. It's like, brilliant, okay, there's a win for today, done. But hang on. So what? what does it mean? What happens from that? So that's why we say, why was it a win? What's the big reason why it was a win? Okay, so you think about that. Then what's the next step? How are you going to use this positivity? How are you going to use this win to bring forwards, to keep you on track, whatever it is? So that's what you're going to, that's the specific next step as well. Okay, the next thing that you're going to do. So record videos and start getting this out on social media. When are you going to do this? Is the actual real crux of this. That's what takes it forward. So what I'm going to do is, when I'm going to do this, I'm doing this podcast now. I'm going to record an introduction video tomorrow afternoon. I've got a session 12 till 1. I'll do it after that. 1:30, probably 2 o'clock. I'm going to do it before 3 o'clock. Because if I say I'll do it tomorrow afternoon, I'll end up at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, having a beer, going, I've got a video to do and it'll go through to next Monday. So I'm going to do it tomorrow before 3 o'clock. So there's the specific next steps. I've got a few other things to do on the back of it, but that is the first thing that I need to do. Just get the first thing done, get it out there, done. And that's what I'm doing right now. So let's say on a training program, you've done 3 sessions this week. Go, right, I've done 3 sessions this week. Brilliant. What's the next step? Well, I'll just carry that forward and do 3 sessions next week. Okay. And then what happens next week if you get busy? Like at the moment, we're in a lockdown, so the chances are that's quite slim. But what happens if you get, well, look, all the kids are back to school and everything, so, homeschooling, I get it. It's tricky. You're going to be tired. But let's just say, so there's the busyness that comes in. So it's like, right, hang on. If you don't schedule in for yourself when you're going to do it, will it happen? And then here's what can happen. You get into next week, you're like, right, brilliant. My wins last week where I did my sessions, 3 sessions. I just wrote down wins. What's the next step? Well, I'll do them next week. Okay. And then Monday happens, it gets to 6, 7 o'clock. You're like, I didn't do it today because time just got away from me. I'll do it tomorrow. I didn't do it. And then you don't get it done there because time ran away from you, or something happened, or one of the kids was ill or something like that. Time runs away from you. And that can happen day after day after day. And then you get to the Sunday and you go, what are my wins this week? Well, I haven't done any sessions. I can't think of any. Whereas if last week you said specific next step, right, Monday, 12 o'clock, lunchtime, I'm going to set some time aside. I'm going to do my session. Be specific. And then at least you know when you're going to do it. That's why I'm doing this podcast right now. So anyway, exciting times. For me anyway. It might be for you. It might not. But I would advise you to use this every day. Write down 3 wins. Write down why it was a win, no matter how big it is. No matter how big it is. Again, thinking back to my mate Dan's last words, just waking up in the morning was a bit of a win for him in the last couple of years, okay? So just think of that. So it doesn't matter how big it is, as long as it's something good that has happened to you today. Write down 3. Write down why they were a good win. Write down what the next step is. How you're going to take that forwards. And then write down what you're going to do specifically and when to make this win, to solidify it. So, that's all I got for today. Very short one. What was that? I say very short. Blimey. I keep saying these are going to be short and they're all the same length. Anyway, if you need a hand with any of this, like I say, put your name and email address in the box below if you're watching this on my website. If not, I will put a link into the show notes, which won't be on iTunes, but it should hopefully be everywhere else. You click the link and the box will come up, and you can put your name and email address in. You'll get my video series about how to stay on track using the weekly battle plan and all of that stuff. About a little bit about nutrition, a little bit about why training is important, how to handle nutrition, and also what's the third one? How to stay focused as well, which is a big thing, which is what people don't really think about. They just think, well, I'll just train and get my nutrition right. It's like, right, brilliant, but how do you keep that focus, which is what the wins are about and stuff like that as well. Okay, so anyway, I will send you all of that. You'll get emails, you get my video series. If you want any training help, have a look at my website. There's a book you can download there, 101 kettlebell swing workouts. There'll be something up here somewhere on my podcast website where you can download my swing book. There's everything. If you get onto my email list, you can you can look at the 28-day challenge, which is also on the website, which might help you out. There's lots of places to start, or you can just reply to one of my emails and ask me anything. Okay, so if you found this helpful, share it with your friends, like it, say hello, keep the conversation going, and I'll talk to you on the next one.